did. But I wasn't by myself.
All right.
There we were, in the garden, able to frolic and do whatever we wanted to do, go wherever we wanted to go. We didn't have a desire in the world. But I'm talking too soon. Because Adam was first, you know. He was in that garden, and God let him name all those animals. And he said, it's not good for man to be alone, so I got to give him a helper. So he put Adam to sleep, and he made me. And he made me from one of Adam's ribs. So when Adam saw me, he said, bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, I will call you woman. Y'all been calling us woman ever since. God gave us a commandment. He said, you can eat of any fruit except the fruit, that tree in the center of the garden. Don't touch that one. For that is the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Okay. But I warn you, ladies, y'all think that serpent was ugly? No, beware of the serpents because they slick and good looking. I tell you, when they tempt you, they ain't ugly, because if they was ugly, we'd go the other way. No, he was charming and said, go ahead and eat up that fruit. You'll be like God. And I said, who don't want to do that? So I did it. And I took it to Adam. And Adam, well, you know, let's be real. He could have threw it away.
Amen.
But, you know, I ain't gonna lie. I did say, if you love me, you'll do it. So he did it too. But then when we looked at each other, I mean, really looked at each other, we went and hid and covered ourselves with fig leaves. So when the Lord came walking in the garden, like he does a lot of times, he didn't see us. He said, Adam, where are you? And Adam said, I'm hiding because I found out I was naked. God said, who told you that? Did you eat up the food I told you not to eat? And you know what he did? He threw me under the bus. That woman you gave me. Well, the Lord said to me, did you eat that food? And you know what I said? The devil made me do it. But even though we had to give up the garden, God was still merciful. I want to tell you that God is merciful even when you mess up. You have to pay. There are consequences when you mess up. He ain't going to let you just mess up and just keep blessing you. No. You got to pay. You got to learn. So we had to leave the garden. Leave all that nice stuff. And then we had to work. I had to give birth in pain. But God blessed me with children. First came Cain. Then came Abel. Then unfortunately came the first murder when Cain killed Abel. So I lost two sons. Because the first one died and the second one had to leave. God is still merciful. And other children. Seth came, and then later more children came. So let me just leave you with this. There's a song I heard one day. And I like the words of that song. It's special to me. He's always looking out for me. Always seems to be opening doors that I don't even see. And I don't have to worry because he takes good care of me. Jesus keeps looking out for me. So we want to give you and show you other women, other mothers in the Bible. There are a lot of mothers in the Bible. But one we're focusing on is Sarah, the wife of Abraham. Sarah was one of the most important women in the Bible. She was the wife of Abraham, which made her the mother of the nation of Israel. She had no idea that God was about to bless her in the most remarkable way.
And one thing, can I have all the men stand up? Stand up. All the men. Hey, stand up. And I want y'all to give a clap to every woman that's in here. Now okay, now I'm Sarah. Now Sarah was in the kitchen and she was talking on the phone to one of her friends. And Abraham was restless at night. He couldn't sleep. So he got up, he came in the kitchen, and he was looking for me. And he said, Sarah, I have some news I want to tell you. And I told Abraham, I said, Abraham, I'm on the phone talking right now.
Okay.
It's very important, very important. So I said to the person I was talking to that I have to get off the phone because my husband, Abraham, wants to talk to me. So I pulled the chair up, we sat down, and I said to Abraham, what is so important that you have to talk to me about? And Abraham said to me, well, I had a dream. And the Lord came to me and he said to me that you're going to have a child. And I turned around and I looked at Abraham and I said, well, this man, I know he ain't telling me I don't have no child. Yeah, I'm 99 years old and you are 100. You walking around here with a cane and I'm getting who was that nigga say? God will keep his baby. So Abraham said, don't worry about that, because God is going to persevere. He's going to take us through this. So I said, okay. I know you're on some medication, but I know you better tell me that I'm going to have some baby. So I said, okay. So I said, well, where's the baby? He said, we're going to have faith, and this is going to go through. So Abraham said to me, and I also said to Abraham, what about all the struggles that we're going to have with having this baby? Because now this baby he's going to be young. Now, and I'm thinking, I'm sitting up here thinking, I'm saying, Lord, okay, now this man is absolutely lost his mind. So time went by. We had a lot of opposition. We had some good ones and we had some bad opposition. We had people come to us and tell us, this is not going to work. Like, y'all crazy, you should be having some child at your older age. And I turned around and I said to Abraham, you said we're going to persevere. We're going to go through this, and this child is going to be a blessing to us. So he did. We had a baby, and I named him Isaac. And he was a very beautiful boy. God blessed him in many, many ways. And he even blessed us with our health, blessed us with our strength, he gave us people that was in our life to help us. And but I also want to say thank you to the mothers too, even to the mothers that had handicapped kids. Because I know when my mother had my baby sister, she was diagnosed with spinal bifida. She was born with a bubble in her back. And they gave her up for life. They said that she wasn't going to make it. But I never seen my mother cry. I never seen my mother worry. I never seen the worriness on her face. But she persevered. And I never said to my mother, Mom, thank you. And I wish the day that she was here today, so I didn't say to her, Theodosia, thank you. Even though I know we took her for a lot. And I know that. And for us to sit back and I see my children, what I went through with my kids went through with me. And I said to her, and I would love to say to her, you was a strong woman that I should have said to you long time ago. But it had to take you to go away from me to realize what you meant to me as a mother.
Yes.
And today, I want to also read this to you, to all the mothers. I will lift up my eyes into the hills, from which cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He has kept thee, will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee day by day, nor moon by night. The Lord shall persevere thee from all evil. He shall persevere thy soul. The Lord shall perceive thy going out and thy coming in, from the time forth and even forever. Amen.
Amen.
Then there was Rebecca. Rebecca. Her name means to captivate. Just like her mother-in-law, Sarah, Rebecca was barren. When her husband Isaac prayed for her, God opened Rebecca's womb, and she conceived and gave birth to twin sons, Esau and Jacob. Now my father-in-law said the servant to find my husband a wife, and I chose to be his wife. So I couldn't have no kids, and then finally I gave birth to these two sons, and I lied to my blind husband. So he gave this, I gave it to my second son. I gave him the girl supposed to go to the first son. So I lied and gave it to my second son. So, and all that, I just want y'all to know that when you make the wrong decisions, there can be hard consequences. Believe it, action no. Both my sons said to leave it, go away. Thank you. During an age when women were typically submissive, Rebecca was quite assertive. At times, Rebecca took matters into her own hands, and sometimes it worked out. But it also worked with some disastrous consequences on occasion. But God's still a merciful God.
Amen.
We want to now let you hear from somebody special. That's Jochebed, the mother of Moses. She was the mother of Moses and one of the most unappreciated mothers in the Bible. Yet she showed tremendous faith in God.
Happy Mother's Day to all.
Same to you.
As my sister said, my name is Jochebed, Moses' mother. I was made aware of all the gossips that have been floating around this village concerning the actions I took for my son Moses. One of the remarks was, how could you do such a thing to this little baby? That woman, Jochebed, has no heart whatsoever. We know there are always two sides to a story, right?
Yeah.
And I never thought the day would come when I'd be able to give my side of the story. So I thank God for this opportunity. Long ago, there was a ruler of Egypt by the name of Pharaoh. He sent out a decree that all the Hebrew baby boys be killed by throwing them into the Nile River, and save only the baby girls. He instructed the midwives to do so. At some point, Pharaoh saw a lot of Hebrew boys running around the block and questioned the midwives. They said that the Hebrew women were more vigorous than the Egyptian women, and their babies were being born at such a rapid rate that it was so hard to get them before the babies were born. The fact of the matter was, Pharaoh feared that the boys would grow up and become too powerful, then join forces with his enemies to overthrow him. At that time of the decree, my son Moses was only 3 months old, and I could not hide him any longer, so I had to do something to save his life. So I decided to put him in a basket and release him in the Nile River, hoping someone would find him. Pharaoh's daughter, who happened to be bathing in the river, heard my baby was crying and was moved with love and compassion. My daughter Miriam was watching everything from the riverbanks. She went to Pharaoh's daughter and suggested that she could find a Hebrew woman to nurse the child. Pharaoh's daughter agreed, and so Miriam called me. I didn't mention that I was the mother, so you could imagine how excited I was to take care of my own child and even get paid for it. Look at God. I used every opportunity to educate my son in the religion and history of Israel, ensuring that he did not lose his Hebrew identity. I took care of Moses until he was old enough to be brought back to Pharaoh's daughter to live with her, after which she adopted him and he was raised as an Egyptian. Now, as I reflect on last Sunday's message at our church, we had a guest preacher, Pastor Timothy Latif, who spoke on the topic of defining moments. I noted 3 points that he said. God orchestrates defining moments. Number 2, we don't plan for them, they're planned for us. And number 3, we must remember interactions with whom God uses. According to the decree passed by Pharaoh, my son was in danger, and I had to do something to save his life. After I heard that message by Pastor Latif, I realized that God orchestrated a plan to use me as the instrument to be the defining moment in my son's life.
Amen.
God already had all the pieces of the puzzle put together concerning the plan and purpose he had for my son. He used him to free the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt and to lead them to the outskirts of the promised land. My son also had a personal encounter with God on Mount Sinai where he received the 10 Commandments for the people of God. These are only 2 things that happened in Moses' life that we will never ever forget. As Moses' mother, I believed that I played an integral part of the defining moment in his life. As I look back now, I can see how the devil tried to intercept and disrupt God's plan for my son. Pharaoh was being used to do evil against all the baby boys, but God turned it into good in order to preserve the lives for many people who are alive today because of what happened. And in closing, the scripture says from Isaiah 55, 8 and 9, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." Amen.
Although little is written about Yoshebed in the Bible, her story speaks powerfully to mothers of today. Through her, we learn about sacrifice, humility, and faith, that God will prevail even when something looks grim. Which now brings us to Hannah. Hannah's story is one of the most touching in the Bible. Her name means favor, grace, and God did favor and show Hannah favor and grace.
good, wasn't it?
God.
You see that? Right in like that. Y'all know I'm crazy. Anyway, I got Hannah, and it was hard for me because I don't want another baby. So I was like, well, can I replace this with a truck or a new job, maybe an education, some braces? I want some things, right? So I think the whole point of Hannah is that, yes, she had to cry a lot. She had to pray a lot. She had to sacrifice a lot. She had to hurt a lot. She had to give up a lot. And she was, talked about, spit on. Basically, they had 2 wives, and she's getting nothing. And the other one, Panaya, her name means jewel. So, bringing that forward to modern times, although we, the people of God, we're praying, we're pouring out, we're doing everything that we can to please God and saying, why aren't you answering me? He tells us, I am with you. Just be patient. Just wait. But who do we become? How do we feel when everyone else is getting their jewels? Yes, he loved me. My husband loved me. He adored me. He gave me a double portion of everything because he really did love me. However, I wasn't getting anything. And I hurt and I suffered. But God was with me. He was with me. So don't let someone else's blessing turn your face from God. You continue to pour your heart out before the Lord. You continue to do his work and continue to give him what he deserves. And he'll in turn give you the desires of your heart, double portion. Amen. Like that?
History to suffer through infertility. Before Hannah, 3 other women endured despair of not being able to conceive. Sarah was first, followed by Rebecca, and then Rachel. However, Hannah accepted God's promise with unwavering faith. The other 3 did not. Hannah did something entirely selfless to honor her promise to God. She left her baby at the temple to serve God and be raised by Eli the priest. God blessed her in a later portion of her life because of her faithfulness. Now, we have Bathsheba, wife of David. Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah, was the object of David's lust. However, God does interesting things even through circumstances like those.
Too much. Too much. For real.
So, we're going to talk about what I just demonstrated was the wash up. She was bathing. She was beautiful. She was minding her own business. And David just happened to look and kept looking and kept looking. And then he just couldn't take it anymore. Get that woman, bring her to me. So we talk about the wash up. Then we're going to talk about the mess up. Well, you see, the Bible says it's not good for man to touch a woman. So he started from looking, then went to touching, and then she got pregnant. So that's the mess up. So we go from the mess up, and basically, she was married.
Yeah.
And he knew she was married.
Yeah.
Because the man worked for him.
Yeah.
And basically, he said, all right, now that I done got you pregnant, let's go put your husband on the front line so he can die.
Yep.
So now that's the mess up. And the cover up. So that was the cover up. We tried to set it up so he could try to go sleep with your wife so you can go where I just been. Okay, let me,
Oh.
y'all missed that.
Oh.
But what he did was the husband said, no, I can't do that. When the men out there still, he said, no, you go. So that's why he got him killed. So long story short is after the wash up, she was bathed, and after the mess up, he slept with her after the cover up and tried to, have her, the baby died. The first baby died. But the last part that I want to talk about is the get up. Because after you make a mistake, where you mess, there's a message, and God used you as a messenger. So he had to get up from that place. He prayed, the baby died. But from this story came one of the greatest kings that lived, the wisest king on earth. Obviously, David did the right thing. He went back and got Bathsheba. They got married, and that whole situation turned around. So God is notorious for turning the good thing, the bad thing, into a good thing. And from what was sent to be a demise or was sent to be destruction, God brought redemption. Sound like Jesus, right? But from the wash up, the mess up, the cover up, they got up. She had the second son, who was King Solomon, the wisest king on the earth.
And would come Jesus Christ, the Savior of the world, and Bathsheba would have the distinguished honor of being one of only 5 women listed in the Messiah's hands.
Wow.
So it's not about what we do in the beginning. It's more about what we do when we realize where we messed up and how we come back to God and fix it.
Amen. Amen.
While this mother is not part of Jesus' direct line of ancestry, she bears mentioning because of an important part she played in showing us what true motherhood and sacrifice looks like. There was a sermon earlier given by Pastor Chiquita. Spoke about 2 mothers living in the same house. Each mother had an infant son. One of the babies had been smothered, and when these women were brought before King Solomon, each one claimed that the remaining boy was hers. King Solomon had asked God for wisdom. So when the 2 women were brought before him, he had to use that wisdom because both was claiming to be the mother of this child. King Solomon thought for a moment. Using the wisdom God had granted him, he called for a sword. The king decided that the baby should be cut in 2 and each woman receive half. And one mother said,
Wait. Excuse me? No, wait. Stop. Wait. This is unnecessary. This is ridiculous. You can't kill my baby. My baby. It's all right. She behaves. You take care of this child. I love this baby. Don't hurt my baby. She can. Go ahead. Come on.
at this time, King Solomon made his decision.
What says the king?
Y'all too much. Y'all irk.
Repeat that. A true mother will sacrifice her child before she'll allow any harm to come to them.
Woo.
Mother in the Bible. And as was said about her earlier, she was with him from birth to death. And even when he rose again. Mary is blessed for many, many reasons.
This Mary? This Mary? Okay. Oh my God. My God.
You know, because my thing is that I'm so in love. I'm so in love with Jose. You know, I'm saving myself. I am. I really am. I'm saving myself for Jose. I love him. And he loves me. And I'm just, he sings that song all the time, you know, Maria, Maria. Maria, Maria, I love him. And then, but what happened? I hear this angelic voice, and it tells me that I am going to be with child. I'm going to be with child. And we ain't having that. Because you know what? You know how the Puerto Ricans are. That ain't my kid. They don't want that. But you know what? That angelic voice just kept telling me that I've been favored. That angelic voice also tell me that I have been chosen. I started singing, wow, I feel real good right about now. But what am I going to do when I tell Jose that I'm pregnant? Then I started thinking, is this real or is it Memorex? You know what Memorex is, right? Okay, yeah, Memorex. But anyway, I just trusted that angelic voice to speak to Jose. And guess what? The angelic voice spoke to Jose. And he accepted me. And not only did he accept me, we got married. And not once did he lay with me. Do you understand? Amen. Because that's what I had to learn in college, laid. I know there was 3, I didn't know there was 4. But anyway, so this child was of this seed I carried. This seed I carried was so precious inside. And then when the day came and that the baby was born, I said, Jose, should we name it Emmanuel or Jose or Jesus? So I like Emmanuel. But anyway, we're going to just leave him Jesus. And so then after that, we had this, he trained that child, took him everywhere, went walking down the block and everything. But you know, anywhere you live, you're going to have haters. How many of you got haters in your neighborhood? You know, I had me the finest looking man. And my baby, he was so cute. Oh, he was so cute. He was growing up. But you know, how many of us know that when children get of age and they get to 12 years old, how they think? They just take off and go, right? Don't they? They just take off and go. And I was always saying, where's Emmanuel? Where's Jesus? You know, I didn't even know what to name him anymore. And guess where he was at? Where? Yes, at the barber shop with the old heads. He was over there sitting down with the old heads at the barber shop. But guess what? Them old heads, they liked my Emmanuel. He was so smart, so full of knowledge. So every day, we had to go through this routine. Where is Emmanuel? Where can we find him? Where do you think we found him? At the barber shop with the old heads. And they loved him. They loved him. He was so good. They were amazed at him that he knew so much. But you know, time went by. And when time went by, how many know that even to this day, there's haters, there's bad people in the world. People can't see you happy. People can't see a man love a woman and a woman love a man and have beautiful children. People always try, well, it's not really people, it's the devil uses people. I call them imps, you know. They always, so you know,